You know how it is. Everything in our lives is connected. But what happens when those connections, well, just stop? That security camera that freezes right when you need it. The video call that starts lagging and buffering in the middle of an important meeting. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the powerful brain that brings some serious order to all that digital chaos.
So here's the plan. We'll kick things off with the headaches we all face with modern networks. Then we're going to meet the smart device that's built to fix them. We'll dive into its amazing self-healing power, see how it creates digital express lanes for your data, and even how it goes beyond the usual limits of wires and walls. The goal? To finally get your network completely under your control.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're in a super important video conference and suddenly your voice starts breaking up. Or maybe you go to check your security feed and you're just staring at a frozen image from 3 hours ago. You know, these aren't just little annoyances. They're actually symptoms of a network that's really struggling to keep up.
It really is like a massive digital traffic jam. All your important stuff, your video calls, your security feeds, they're all stuck in line behind everything else. But what if, and this is the big question, what if there was a way to just clear all that congestion and get everything moving smoothly again?
Well, there is. The answer is giving your network a serious intelligence upgrade. So it's time to meet the hero of our story today, the Managed Network Switch.
Okay, here it is, the AirLive PoE-GSH2404M-400. Now don't let that long model number scare you. The best way to think about this thing isn't as some complicated box with blinking lights. Now, think of it as a brilliant air traffic controller for your data, intelligently directing every single packet to exactly where it needs to go, with perfect timing.
And the key here is just how versatile it is. You're looking at 24 high-speed ports that can do two things at once. They carry data, and they deliver power to your devices, like cameras or wireless access points. Plus, it has these special ports for super-fast fiber optic connections, which lets you cover some seriously huge distances. And yeah, we'll definitely get back to that in a minute.
400 watts. That's the total amount of power this switch can send out to your devices. What does that actually mean? It means you can hook up and run a whole bunch of power-hungry gear. We're talking multiple high-def security cameras, office phones, Wi-Fi access points, all at the same time, without ever having to worry about running out of juice.
And with 28 ports in total, this thing really becomes the central hub for a busy office or even a complex smart home. It's built from the ground up to handle dozens of connections at once, creating this incredibly reliable backbone for your entire network.
Now this number, 56 gigabits per second, that's the total traffic capacity. To put it simply, it means that even if every single port is being hammered, people streaming 4K video, downloading huge files, making video calls, there are no bottlenecks. That digital traffic jam we talked about earlier? Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, so let's tackle that first big problem. A device, like a security camera, that just freezes. You know the drill. The old solution was to find a ladder, climb up, unplug it, and plug it back in. But what if that camera is on a 20-foot ceiling? Or in a whole other building? There is a much, much smarter way.
The folks who made this call feature the PoE Watchdog, and I just love this description. The best 24/7 PoE device guard. It's honestly like having a tiny technician on duty 24/7 whose only job is to watch over your most critical devices.
And the logic here is just brilliantly simple. First, the switch is always keeping an eye on the data coming from a device. Second, if that data suddenly stops for no reason, it knows, hey, this thing probably crashed. And third, it automatically cuts the power to just that one port for a second and then turns it back on, forcing the device to reboot, all without you lifting a finger.
And here is the payoff, plain and simple. On the left, you've got that dreaded frozen camera feed. The switch sees the problem, does its automatic restart, and just a few moments later, boom, on the right, the live video feed is back online. Problem solved. Automatically. It's fantastic.
All right, on to problem number 2, that network traffic jam. You know, this is what happens when your critical video conference is fighting for bandwidth with someone in the next room downloading a massive file, plus a dozen other things. You know, the solution here isn't always more speed. It's about better organization.
And we do this using a feature called a VLAN, which stands for Virtual LAN. Honestly, the best way to picture it is to imagine creating dedicated express lanes on your own private digital highway. You're taking one single physical network and slicing it up into multiple, totally separate virtual networks.
This diagram shows it perfectly. See how the security camera traffic gets put into its very own surveillance VLAN? That keeps it completely separate from the general data VLAN that everyone else is using. So even though all these devices are plugged into the same box, their traffic can't interfere with each other or slow each other down.
And the best part is, you get to create these express lanes for whatever is most important to you. You can make a high-priority lane just for video conferencing and voice calls to make sure they're always perfectly clear. You can make another one for your surveillance cameras, and then you can just let everything else cruise along in the general data lane. You decide what gets top priority.
So, we've solved frozen devices and we've cleared up our digital traffic jams. But what about the physical world? Things like distance. Or what about invisible threats, like somebody trying to mess with your network? Well, this switch has some pretty smart answers for those too.
Remember those special SFP ports we saw earlier? Well, this is what they're for. A standard Ethernet cable, the one you're used to, taps out at around 100 meters. But by plugging a fiber optic module into one of these ports, you can create a blazing fast, super reliable link between buildings that are up to 20 kilometers apart. That's a game changer. It completely redefines the scale of your network.
And for security, you've got a feature called DHCP snooping. Okay, let's break that down. Think of it like a security guard standing at the front door of your network. Its job is to watch for any unauthorized devices, like if someone brings in their own router from home and plugs it in. And it stops that rogue device from handing out bad network addresses that could disrupt or even compromise your entire system. And what's so cool is that turning on this incredibly powerful protection isn't some super complicated technical task. In most cases, enabling this level of security is literally as simple as checking a box in the settings and clicking Apply. That's it.
So let's just pull all of this together for a second. We started with this idea of a chaotic, unreliable network where things just randomly fail. And now, by adding just one smart device into the mix, we've completely transformed it into something that's robust, intelligent, and most importantly, predictable.
At the end of the day, it's really all about going from chaos to control. Your frozen cameras reboot themselves thanks to the PoE Watchdog. Your laggy video calls are a thing of the past because they have their own VLAN express lane. Your separate buildings are now connected with high-speed fiber, and your whole network is protected from nasty internal threats. You are back in control.
Look, our homes and our businesses are relying on more and more connected devices every single day. From our security systems to the way we communicate, the demand we put on our networks is just going to keep growing. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? As our world gets more and more connected, isn't it about time our networks got a whole lot smarter?